Hi, this is Katie, and welcome to the final project for CO116 Introduction to Computer Programming. So I know that you're going to really miss these videos and learning how to code this semester, so I wanted to leave you on a good program. So I'm going to make this video. I'm not showing my audio because, or my video, my visual, because it just causes more problems sometimes for my little computer. So we're going to go here to Learning Module 12, which is our final project. To begin with, I'm recording this in the winter, but we're going to use this in the I'm recording this in the fall semester. It just seems like winter. But I'm going to use this in the fall as well. In the winter semester. So for 2015, check your due dates. If you're in that semester, I'm not going to make a new video. But for those of you that are current in the fall semester, I have posted the design document and the assignment itself. This is just the document. I'll post an assignment where you can upload your file and the video that I'm making right now. So where we want to start. I've given you the design document. This program is worth 200 points, and I'm going to help you set it up. And with this design document, we're going to look at the things that are relevant and things that you need to know for it. I'm not using Facebook. I've disconnected my account temporarily to get a break from it. Woohoo! Probably by the time you watch this, I'll connect again. But I've made it almost 24 hours, and I'm pretty darn happy about that. Sorry, that was the sound of my homemade coffee. That probably has got about 300 calories in it. But 'tis this holiday season, and even if it's springtime, it's always a good time to give. So our project is the Holiday Donation Drive program. So you can hear the ding ding dings in the air of the Salvation Army, and they collect money, and then some places collect food. So what we're going to do is write a program that will keep track of holiday giving at 6 different donation sites. So you would be the administrator. You're writing this program for an administrator for the holiday giving drive, or in the spring we'll leave it as the holiday drive. Maybe you're getting prepared for 2015. But the design document here just explains everything that you need to know. So this really is not only the assignment, it gives you a lot of guidance of how you should do this. Now we're going to write a program that will allow an administrator to enter in the site names, cash donations, and food donations for 6 sites around the city. And we need to calculate our cash total, our total pounds of food, and determine which site has the highest and lowest. Now, and the totals for food and cash for all of these. So to give you an idea of how this program will work. Let me see if I have. Let me pause for a minute and pull up my program so you can see it running. And then go ahead and get JGrasp going so that you can set up a project workspace and get yours started as well. Okay, now we'll create another project, but I've coded the program that I want you to do. So I just want to show you what the output will look like. Also at the bottom of the design document, there's some sample output. So we can use that to guide our input to see, how it would work. So let's see. We want to enter in a site location. So I might enter in Walgreens for my first site. And then we'd have the total cash donations, and it could be anything, and then the pounds of food that was also collected at Walgreens. So let's say 1,000 pounds of food. Now we go on to the next site. So one of the requirements of this program is that we need to use arrays, and we're going to use parallel arrays similar to what we did with the last Code With Me assignment, where we would have one that would be a string and it would be called site name, and it would be a size 6 because we want to store 6. So what I did in this 0 index, remember I like to use Excel because we already got our blocks here, but remember size 6 array would go 0 to 5. So what I just did is I put in Walgreens right here, and then I would create another one called double, let's see, cash donations, and that would be of size 6. And again, the same thing. So I just entered in 0. I have an array, and these arrays are not multidimensional, but they are parallel. So in this one, what did we just enter? 198.30. 198.30. And then we have a third array that is for the food. So LBS food is what I called mine, but you can call yours whatever. And again, I'm just using this Excel to show you how the data is stored in memory. Because we spent one chapter on arrays, but you need to use arrays for here. And then we entered 1,000 pounds of food for Walgreens. So now when you go back to your program, it goes on to the next site. So let's say we want to put in Walmart and $259.89 and 1,500 pounds of food. So again, in our memory of a program, that goes into this next part. 259.80 and then 1,500 pounds of food. Now I won't keep going back and forth, but you get the idea. So we'll enter in another donation site and how much cash they collected. So in addition to filling in all of this data, which your program is going to do, so that would work with arrays and loops, and I'll show you how to set it up because there are other requirements. So there's our cash donations, and Meer's a food place. So let's say we donated 8,000 pounds of food. GRCC, just any amount of money, any amount of food, and Shell gas station. Just entering in random numbers, and then how about Marathon? I'm not going to enter in site locations with a space because there is a little tweak in our program that we would have to do to allow it, and we're not going to deal with that right now. So what I want to show you is how your program's supposed to be working. So you go through and you enter in 6 donation sites. And each has, oh, there's my report. Each has the different values. So what your program does is, first of all, we have a donation report. So it shows how many pounds of food and how much cash was donated at each site, and then it shows a total. So with our drive, we collected a total of $2,200 and over 10,000 pounds of food. And what those values are is going through the array and adding up this plus this plus this plus this, and adding everything up here as well. So what you're doing there is accumulating, and we did that in our Code With Me program. Then what your program is going to do is determine the highest one that was cash and the highest one that was food. And in this case, they both happen to be Meer. But one, Meer could have the best cash donations, but Walmart has the best food donations. This just happened to be a coincidence based on what I entered. So we also need to kind of sort through the array, and I'll show you how to do that in this video because that's a harder thing. And we need to figure out which number is the highest. So maybe we give them an award for whatever store collects the most money. So we would do something like, if this is higher than this, then this temporary value is the highest. And if that temporary value is higher than the next one, then that becomes the higher, and so on. And you just kind of compare one spot of the array to the other spot of the array. And that is all done in Chapter 8. It shows you how to do that, and I'll show you how to do that in the design document as well. Now, when you run it, yes, to run again, make sure your program wipes everything out and allows you to redo it. So that is the gist of the program. That is how it's supposed to work. What you can do is go ahead and make a new project workspace, because I want to show you some things on how I want you to set up your program. Let me make my font a little bit bigger. And you can write what you want. Okay, let me save this project, and I'm going to call this Final Project, or you can call it Donation Drive, or whatever you call it. Just make sure that whatever you call it, your class is called the same thing. So public, class, and then what I just called mine Final Project. And then open curly brace and close curly brace, end of class, and we'll go and set up main and a few other things in a minute. So we don't forget, import java.util.scanner right there, because we'll need to do input. Okay. Design document. So some of the things you have to use in this final project is you have to use arrays. You have to include methods. Now, I know we didn't do a lot with methods. This goes back to Chapter 3, but I want you to use methods so we can at least break apart our program to prepare you for the next course if you end up taking 117. And you can use multiple classes, but I'm not going to make it a requirement for this project. So we'll just use the basic concept of methods with this, which is Chapter 3 if you need to go back, but I'll also show you one method so you see how it works. You need to do error range checking for any input of a number. So anytime you took in cash donations and pounds of food, those are numbers. We need to error code for that. We need to run our program multiple times, and of course we're going to have loops and decisions throughout our program. So those are all of the things that you need to think about as you're designing your program and coding it. Now, my way that I'm designing and showing it is just one way. You can code your program differently as long as it meets those requirements. Variable names, methods may be used differently. You can use multiple classes if you want. And you have to use arrays though, and you have to use methods. So those, do your code so it's most efficient, and that includes using loops as well. So the program should ask the user for the 6 locations, the cash donations, and the food donations, and if they want to run the program multiple times. And then based on their input, it's going to calculate the totals and figure out the highest cash and the highest pounds. And then it'll display a report. So all of this requirement specification does is just lays out what the basic requirements of your program will be. In the system analysis, this tells you how you can do your how you can list your variables as global and how you can name them, maybe some suggestions for naming them, and then below in the system design are the methods that you should have and what should happen in each method. So this is almost like pseudocode where it shows you, what you should have in each method. So let's, then as part of a normal system design document, there is an implementation phase and a test plan. So here's some sample data you can use to run against your program. And make sure you include sample output. So let's go over to this printout and use this document for reference when you're writing your program, so you make sure it meets all the requirements. Well, let's go back over to here and let's set up our basic structure. I swear my children, it sounds like they're bowling upstairs. They might be. Hope not. Okay, one thing that that we did in Chapter 3 is we used we passed variables around, but we're going to use all global variables. And I'm going to declare variables. Those are declared inside of our class, but outside of our methods. And that's so that we can use them in all of our methods. So we'll put our global variables there, and then we'll have main. And then if you look on page, if you look under, I think it's about page 3 under system design, it tells you these are the required methods. And you can do yours a little differently if you want, but you have to use methods. And this is something we haven't done since Chapter 3 and 4. But I'll show you how to set it up. So we're going to have a method that gets donations. So, well, remember we always have the main. We're going to have a method that gets donations. We're going to have a method that processes donations. I'm just documenting this so we know where to put them. And then we'll have a method that will display our donations. Like that. And all of that goes inside of the class, just like that. So we have our import scanner. And one thing I want to point out and remind you of is that our scanner input needs to go in every method. So let's set up the structure for main like we always did. Public static void main string args open main close main, and I'm going to document end of main. And like I just said, this scanner input object we need to put in every method, and this will allow us to do input. So I'm going to copy that, just that line, so I can put it in my other methods. So there's main so far. And then what you would do is down here, you would code the header for our get donations. Now, because we haven't done this much, I'll write out the structure for you of each method. We would use the keyword public, and then we would use the keyword static. We're not going to return anything, so we'd use void, and then we'd name it, and we'd follow our naming rules. I'm calling this get donations. Then I open and I close it. End of get donations. Oops, I want to put an S in that. Now, so we have main here. We have another method here, and I'm going to paste my input so I don't forget. We're going to set up process donations the same way. Public, static, void, process donations, open, close, end of process donations. I know I spelled that wrong. And I want to put my input in there just in case I have to do any input, which I probably don't. And then the same with display donations. Public static void display donations and open close. And what we're not going to do with this program is pass variables around. We're just going to make them all global so we can easily use them. And again, I'm just going to put this in here just in case I need to do input, but I won't. I'll probably only need it in main and my input method. Just making sure I'm still recording. Now let me turn on my auto. I'll turn on line numbers too. Generate my CSD so you can see kind of what's going on. I have one class, so if I double click on here, line 7, it closes everything up. And then inside this class I have main. If I double click on that, it closes main. I close donations, I close process donations, display donations. But what I have is one class. Here's the start of it. And then I have 4 methods within my program. Now they're all within the class and they're all declared as public. So what we do in main is everything runs and centers around main. So I'm going to open up main, and what we would do inside of here, I'm not going to code everything for you, but put your loop here to run it multiple times. So that would be your, well, actually, in your design document, which let me show you exactly where I'm looking at, but in your design document under stage 3 of system design, system design, here it shows you what is going to be in each of these methods. So we should, in main, we should include a loop to run multiple times. Actually, let's do this. Let me copy from here and then go over to my program. Let me erase that because I'm just working in main right now, and these are the things that should be in there. Let me document it. So these, right from the design document, these are the things that should be in main. And end of main still there, I just commented out. So we should include a loop, the first one, include a loop to run the program multiple times. Okay, I'm not going to code that for you because we can take it out of any one of our programs. You know, create a run again variable, do a do, and then at the very bottom, remember that's your while. Run again equals true, or run again dot ignore case, and then pass it yes or whatever. So that would be A in that case. That's your program to run multiple times. Inside of that do while, you're going to include a call to get donations, and the syntax for that, we're not going to pass any variables around because they're going to be global up here, but the syntax for that is just simply whatever the name of the method is. So it's called get donations, just like that. We don't have to worry, which we did in chapter 3 and 4. We passed a lot of variables around, returned them back. We're not going to do that here. We didn't spend enough time on it this semester. Process donations. The call is done again the same way with a semicolon, and then display donations. Display donations. Now mine's all commented out right now, but you wouldn't have those commented out. You'd have that as part of what's inside your do while loop. So that's what should be in main. Should be pretty simple, pretty short. A do while to run your program multiple times, and inside that do while, a simple 3 simple calls to get donations, process donations, and display donations. Now remember, when you run your do while multiple times, don't forget that skipping issue, so make sure you copy your code from the last one. Okay, let's talk about our variables before we go on to get donations. Whoops. Before we go down here to how this method would work. Up here, I said this is where we're going to put our global variables. Now, in the design document, I've given you a list of the variables that you might want to use, and I would declare these all as global statics, and I would do that so we don't have to pass them around. So you gotta drink my coffee before it gets cold. Okay, now I separated mine into input variables and then calculated or assigned variables. And these are, then I documented them and said this is what they should be. So let's, well, I hate copying and pasting, but so I'm not going to. But this is a list of 9 variables. And other than your temp variables, these are what they should be. So you could just go to up here under global variables in your program and declare them all. So when you declare static global variables, it's the keyword static up here, which we didn't do before, but because they're global, we need to make them static. And then double, and then this is an array, and I want to call one cash donations equals new double, and then the size. So that's the first one. Again, that would be here. Static double cash donations equals new double. And then you would do this one, and then site name for the store names, which is a string. Best site cash and best site food, those are going to be strings that store the highest cash donation. And there's a space in here, so make sure you have a space in between those quotes. So go ahead and declare all, go ahead and declare all 9 of your variables here. And these are the main variables. You'll have smaller variables like int I and temporary variables too, but go ahead and declare them all. So you'll have a total of 3 arrays, which you'll have 2 doubles and 1 string. And again, that's listed in the design document. And then you'll have 6 other variables that 2 strings and 4 doubles. And again, just follow the syntax such as static double max cash. That would equal that to 0. And again, that stores the highest cash collected. And all of the variables in their documentation of what's stored is right here. It tells you what's in each of those. So under the system analysis, the variables, this is what I named them and the data types I used. So you would declare those all here. You have 6 of them. Okay, let's go down and look at public static void get donations. Now what's going to be in here, I'm going to go back to my design document and I am going to follow this syntax. This is the way that I'm going to fill my array. So let me comment this out and then paste it in here so I don't have to go back and forth. I'm going to, let's see, I should have a for loop that runs 6 times, and in this for loop it should include, let me get rid of these, it should include the code to enter in the site name, and that should be in an array, the code to enter in the cash donations into an array, and the code to enter the food donations into an array. An error code for no negative values. So, basic for loop. For int I equals, equals 0. As long as I is less than 6, I++, open and close. all of these things should be in here. So you'll ask a question. Ask question to enter site name. And remember, these are in arrays. So when you enter in site name, it would be site name in the I spot equals input.next, and open that. And then we want to deal with that skipping issue. So we're going to do that. Then when you want to enter in the ask your question to enter in the donation amount, the donation cash amount, then you would say cash donations in the I spot equals input.next double. And it's the same way that we did in our Code With Me for Chapter 8. Then after that, make sure you error code. So that would be our prime read. Then do your error code. So no negative. Again, refer to Chapter 8 and the Code With Me for 8 on doing that. We did the exact same thing, but we just want to check that there's no negative values. And then you want to do the ask question to enter in the food donation, again in the same loop, and then do the input, and it's done just like this, using my food variable, which is LBS food in the I spot equals input dot next double. So do the input and then error code, so no negatives. Alright, that's the end of the for loop, and that's the end of what goes in get donations. So we have met some huge things. We've got all our input and we error coded for it. Now process donations, what you're going to do in here is quite a bit more. We are going to follow all of these steps right here. There's a lot of steps here, and I'm not going to go through all of them because I know you can do it, and this is a test, a final project, so leave yourself enough time. But I've kind of given you a lot of the syntax of how it should be. Okay, so we should, I got a lot of things in here. That's messy. But if I comment them all out, so if I want to just go through and do what it says, you should set total cash and total food to 0 so that it does not accumulate on multiple runs. That just means this. Reset them to 0. So this one's done. Check. Write a for loop that runs 6 times. Okay, we know how to write a for loop. Open, close, end of for loop. And in that for loop, we should have this and this. So a calculation for accumulating total cash. And then a calculation for accumulating total food. So accumulate total food, and then accumulate total cash. We did accumulation of an array in the Code With Me 8. So I'm not going to show you how to do that. I will, however, let me go back to our Code With Me 8. Should have that, guys. Code With Me 11. Oh, I hit the wrong thing. Let me save what I'm working on. It was Code With Me 11, which was Chapter 8. This right here is how we accumulate things in an array. So if my array is called, in step 3 of what we did, if my array is called pounds food, I would say total food equals total food plus pounds food in the I spot. And then for cash, total cash equals total cash plus cash donations in the I spot. And that's how you would add those up and accumulate them. That's the end of that for loop. So do that. Easy peasy. Okay. The next thing, we're down to this. After we get out of that for loop, we should set max cash. This is something, what I'm going to show you now is the code for figuring out the max cash and the max food. And I want to do this because we didn't really do this in our other programs, and it's kind of hard. This is where we're going to step through this array and see which one's higher, and we're going to step through this array and see which one is higher. And you have to compare things back and forth. And it is in Chapter 8, but it was something that, like I said, that we didn't spend enough time on, so I want to show you the syntax for that. It's also explained, I also explain it in the design document, so we should read that, try to figure it out on your own too. My coffee is turning into iced coffee, but it's still good. So what we want to do is set max cash equal to the very first spot, cash donations, to the 0 index. And then max food is equal to LBS food in the 0 spot. And all that does is it says max cash is going to have a value of 198.30. And max food is temporarily going to have a value of 1,000. So it's the first number. Let me put in other things here. Oops. That's all you did. So when you say cash donations in the 0 spot, it means this one here, the 0 index. So that's what we've done basically, if those were the values of the array. And the reason why we want to do that is we're going to compare them back and forth. So we've done that. And then we are going to run a for loop, another for loop, int I equals 0 as long as I is less than 6, and I plus plus. Should be able to write a for loop in your sleep now. And for loop. Okay, in this for loop, what we're going to do is this code here. We're going to determine if max cash is bigger or less than the next place in line. It's kind of confusing, but actually what we're going to do is not start I at 0. We're going to set it at 1 instead. So make sure you make that change. And in here you would say if cash donations in the I spot is greater than max cash. So what you're basically saying is we set the counter to 1, so I equals 1. So we're saying if 159.80 is greater than 198.30 with that statement. We're saying if this value is greater than this value, then we want to do something. Well, what do we want to do? Well, if that's true, I'm going to open that if, then what we want to do is set our max cash, our new max cash, to the cash donations in the I spot. And additionally, we want to do our best site for cash. I think I have we want to take that and set that equal to site name in the I spot. So if it's higher, we have all these other variable names, max cache and best site cache. Is that what it is? Okay, so if it is higher, let's just say it is higher, well then now max cache is going to be the higher number, 159.80. And the best site name is equal to the site name in the iSpot, which would be Walmart. So this in the iSpot is 1. So that's how you can compare and get a value for the highest site and the highest cache amount that is needed in your final report. So that I give you the exact code. You're going to do the same thing within that. You can use the same for loop and do this one for cash donation. So add if statement, for food donation to determine which one's higher, and that's done. I've given you the exact code right there. So that is the end of what is in our process document, or our process donations method. But there's a lot going on in there, so I've given you a little bit. And then again, just reference all of these things here. Make sure it's all there. Now, that's the hard part. The last part is to do a display location for the individual report. That's a for loop. Display your totals. Display the best site with the highest food amount. So your sample output, this is all input here. That's all input. Go on. Oh, input stops here. And then your output is going to contain all of this. So I have a breakdown of each of the 6 sites, and then I have one of the totals, and that's using your accumulated variables. And then I have the one with the highest donation for cash and the amount, and then the highest food and the amount. And then when you hit yes to run again, make sure it clears out your variables. So that's it. The display, that's where you're going to have all of your beautiful formatted output, and in that you'll have one for loop when you want to display arrays, and then everything else will be just in individual print lines or printf statements. So I hope that helps. That's the start of what I'm going to show you with the program. Reference this design document and read it carefully. And then, as I mentioned here, the tutors will not work with you on final programs. You can ask me for help. This is an exam, so when you email me your questions, email me your code as well. I will get back with you right away, but check out your design document and see that you are meeting all the requirements there, and make sure you follow the due date. Our due dates for the finals are not normally, this semester it's December 10th, and in April, in the winter semester will be a different date, but Wednesday, December 10th, 2014 for fall classes, and this is at noon, and this is when grades are done. So I'll create another place where you can attach it, and good luck. Start early, give yourself enough time. Thanks, and happy giving.